Good morning. Welcome in Friday, March 4th, another Friday morning safety meeting. This week, our code of conduct is to respect the property of others. Mr. Dell, is there any words of wisdom you'd like to share with us regarding this topic?
I don't know how much wisdom, but I'll try. I think this one's a good one because we deal with it a lot, and some of it involves the when we're on a project, like someone, for example, not turning around a huge dump truck in someone's driveway, right? When they're not even part of the project. So it involves things like that, respecting that when we're on a right of way going through someone's property, that we respect and know what our right of way is, and don't start piling up materials on their property without permission. But also it goes to like, don't take someone else's lunch. I mean, we've had that, and everyone thinks, oh, this isn't school, but we've actually dealt with people eating other people's lunches sometimes. So it involves your coworkers. It also involves anyone in the vicinity of where we're working. Putting your coffee cup. One time when I was on a job, one of my guys put his coffee cup down on a hood of a vehicle that was kind of in the parking lot next to where we were going. And it wasn't anyone related to the project, and that guy was really very upset. And the guy didn't even really think of it. He's like, oh, there's a hood. We put coffee cups on hoods. So, and it also includes our own property, So it just think of this one as an all-encompassing, respecting the property of anyone that we work with.
Well said. Thank you.
Those are just some examples of.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our safety day count is up to 102 days without a recordable injury. So excellent job this week. Let's keep up the good work with starting the day with a good communication through that JHA, identifying those hazards, recognizing those hazards, identifying those hazards, and then setting up proper controls to mitigate our exposures to those hazards. This week, I just kind of wanted to highlight, it's been about a year since our last topic on our spill prevention and response. So I just kind of want to do a quick little overview. We'll probably go into a little bit more depth on the SDSs when we have a little bit larger workforce. But for the most part, our two main spills are hydraulic fluid and our gas and diesel spills. So again, the SDSs are available for both. If on your team foreman and supervisor's team channel, if you go under files, SDS, you'll be able to have access to these to the SDS to read in a little bit more on the spill prevention and response. For the most part, it is kind of common sense, but it is located there. So our best practices, again, follow that code item, is work in an environmental conscientious manner, but also is be prepared, have spill kits readily available. Again, all kits are available in the tool crib. So get with Elliot and he can make sure that you're well stocked. Again, daily inspection of equipment is vital with best practices with spill prevention. And then a lot of our kind of more of our diesel and gas spills is when we're filling up. We seem to like to trust the automatic shutoff nozzles, and those are known to fail. So let's always try to keep our post when filling up, pay attention, focus on the task at hand. Distractions or multitasking will lead to costly spills. So let's really focus in on that moving forward and following those best practices for prevention. So when we do have a spill, we need to make sure we de-energize the system and stop the spill immediately. Never search for leaks with your hands if it's under pressure. Use cardboard or find any other type of plastic. But again, just don't use your hands to ever try to find a spill, especially if it's under pressure. Round up the spill kits. Try to control it. With a very, very large spill, use our spoils or any other earth material to dam up and isolate. Try to keep it from any catch basins or rivers. Notify the project manager immediately, and then notify the mechanics, Pat Wells, for maintenance and to try to, get us the right pieces that you need to make the repair. And then along that, call myself, Health and Safety, for assistance with the waste management and reporting for the actual spill. We would like to keep all spills over 2 gallons on site. So if you would please, you know, when you call maintenance, have them bring a 55-gallon drum with you and try to keep all waste on site, and we'll create a general ID, site ID on that project location, and we'll schedule pickup with our vendor to try to keep that waste from coming to the shops. It creates more time and energy to bring everything back to ECI headquarters. It's best to keep all the stuff on site. Plus, it helps us with our quantity for the shops as well. So that's really all I have for prevention of spills. If there are any follow-up questions, please contact me after and I'll try to answer those. With that said, Ken, take it away.
Okay. I think the first thing to do this morning is to say, let's locate our spill kits on every job so we know where they are and they're accessible and they're complete.
Yep.
Okay, I'm switching over to my screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
We got it.
All right. So, spill prevention and response. Keep it in mind this week. Announcements, nothing new that hasn't been reported, but we'll go through them from the previous ones. The new insurance cards are in. Check with the shop staff for Scott Burns. Safety meetings have obviously been shifted back to 6:30. And then new fuel cards. I think there's still a few that needs to be distributed. Check with Sarah. And we're still in the cold nights, obviously. Last night, hopefully that's the last of the cold nights. So we will continue treating our diesel fuel, but we'll hopefully soon we'll be saying we don't have to treat anymore. Oops. My screen's jumping around on me here. I'll try to. There we go. So the primary wellness care wellness program got posted here again. And the weather outlook, gradual warming, but first we had last night's cold weather and this morning. It's still going to hang a little cool at nights, and then looks like it's going to warm up above freezing quite a bit next week. COVID policies are certainly getting relaxed recently, which is great news, and the caseload has gone way down. Very positive things. So this week we're going to talk about the Shelburne Shipyard, the anchor bulkhead wall that we built in Shelburne. This is last 2 weeks we did the Burlington Vermont Railway Amtrak work, and we got one more segment of that. We're waiting for some materials to come in to finalize that last segment. But so for this week we're switching to the Shelburne Shipyard. And ECI is contracted, or was contracted, and still is actually, with Safe Harbor Marinas of Dallas, Texas, to design and build the new bulkhead wall along the waterfront of their facility. Safe Harbor purchased the Shelburne Shipyard in 2019 and is in the process of renovating and modernizing the marina. The bulkhead wall consists of driven sheet piles anchored to concrete deadman blocks, which were previously used as a seawall. You'll see in the pictures below in a minute. H piles were driven along the travel lift piers to transition to the sheet pile. So the travel lifts the boat up in a couple of sling harnesses and travels out and drop them in the lake. The north end of the property also joins the LTC dry dock, which contained the Miss Piggy tugboat while we were doing our project. And design work started in the bulkhead last winter when we drilled probes along the alignment to determine the potential for boulders and obstructions. Surprisingly, there were relatively few. And production work started this fall after the marina closed for the season and continued into the winter. And the cold and windy weather at Shelburne Point was a challenge that I'm sure you can imagine. So this is last fall before the snow, before it got real cold. And there's a travel lift actually standing in that blue gantry type mechanized travel lift, they call it. So it'll take a boat and lift it there, and it travels out on these two finger piers and drops the boats in. Beyond that, in the background, you can see the Miss Piggy in dry dock, and then you see some of the existing seawall where these concrete waste blocks, and they were put on top of a timber cribbing. The cribbing was filled with a coarser crushed stone or rock product. I need to go slowly in my progressing down the screen, otherwise it jumps. There we go. There's the Miss Piggy. That's on the north boundary of the property line, right on the property line, just beyond. And this whole thing this whole structure that it's sitting on is on rails, and that slowly gets pushed back into the water and dragged up into dry dock. So we had to be conscious of the clearances needed for this new wall. There's another picture you can see. It kind of looked pretty crappy with a lot of broken up concrete and sagging timber cribbing, and the concrete blocks didn't look very pretty and appealing. So we went to town and we drove, and here's on these finger piers for the travel lift. See, the travel lift goes out, and it's really just a couple wide flange sections laid horizontally so that the flanges kind of guide and keep the travel lift on track there. And we drove the H piles on either side to start the process and driving sheet piles between them. And we were using the vibratory hammer here, driving the H pile again early on in the late fall. And then it got colder. Got all the sheet piles driven, and then we had cut off the tops, and we made holes for the anchors. And you can see the kind of the debris field there of material that was in there. Of course, it was the concrete. There's obviously cinder blocks and wood and steel and all kinds of stuff laying around, but generally a coarse free draining material. And then you see how we recovered some of the waste blocks and set them up to be dead man anchors, and the anchors aren't shown there, but you see the holes in the sheets. And in this one area in front of one of these buildings, we didn't have the room for the waste blocks, so we poured in a cast in place anchor dead man anchor wall. And then you can see the top cap beam is installed here at this point as well. And this next picture coming up here, it shows what it was kind of like on those cold days out on Shelburne Point, exposed to a lot of the wind coming from kind of the northeast and coming over the top from the west. It's a pretty brutal area when the wind's blowing hard. There's an example of some of the materials that we removed and got rid of from this operation. We backfilled with a dense graded type product on the top. There's some of the completed wall with the cap beam on, and that's the dry dock kind of beyond the 330. There's a dry dock structure. So right there, we turned the corner, and then you see we tapered the wall down because of the dry dock. And there's more photos of some of the completed wall with the cap beam in the travel lift area out there. And looking back towards, they have a concrete dock. We ended at the concrete dock The original plan was go to wrap around it, but that didn't turn out to be very feasible or necessary. I don't know where they got the idea, but that was changed after it was realized that driving out there, the sheets out there, was going to be too much of a challenge. And just a few historical notes here. The boat making at the property dates way back to 1797, and the shipyard was founded in 1820, so it's over 200 years old for the shipyard. And it was founded by the Champlain Steamboat Company, and the Griswold family owned it just prior to the purchase by Safe Harbor. So obviously a lot of those concrete waste blocks were there because the Griswold family, owned the property and had easy and inexpensive access to waste blocks.
Jack Kirk probably had something to do with some of those waste blocks.
Yeah, probably right. Yep. And this is there was all kinds of reports. There's all kinds of good information and historical information on the internet. And this is actually a photo that we took from the archaeological report done for the project. This was their cover photo, and this is the Pleasure Steamer Vermont out at Shelburne Harbor. And it's kind of cool how it's a historic spot, and it was shipbuilding, and it's really the real deal shipbuilding. So in its time anyway, so pretty cool stuff. And then from the photo archives, I going back through some seawall projects, and I came across Alan with UVM professor Jim Olson. He was the geotech professor. He went by Dr. Dirt. He even had, I probably still has his license plate, a vanity license plate that says Dr. Dirt, and that was back in November 2012. They were looking at some of this work we were doing for the Murphy seawall. So that's what I got. I'll leave you guys, I'll turn it back over to Matt, and have a safe day out there. Watch out for these cold conditions, frostbite, and that sort of thing till it warms up. Once that sun comes up, it'll be a lot better.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Slip, trips, and falls too with these changing conditions. So keep
Right.
an eye on
And
ice.
locate your spill kits.
Yeah, that too. If you watch it in a group setting, please send me a message so I can just capture attendance. That'd be fantastic. Everybody be safe today. Let's have a great day.
Okay. Take care.